Signposting is a technique or a framework, like a template we can use. I'm sure many of you have come across it before. Let's just see if this is going to work. It's a technique for structuring your information, structuring the way you talk to customers, the way you give information to customers. And it helps ensure that you give the information in a logical order, that it's presented in a way that the customer will understand and that they can digest, and they'll go away feeling happy in the knowledge that they know what's going on. Okay, so as we can see here, signposting is a gentle technique to keep us in control. We definitely want to be in control of the situation. There's no doubt about that. We know what we're doing. The customer has come to us for help. It makes no sense to let the customer be in control of an inquiry, because they don't know the ins and outs of the back office systems. They don't know the procedures as well as you do. They're looking to us for guidance, so we want to be in control. It's also used to make the customer aware when there's a change in direction, when something's about to happen, when there's going to be an event. So maybe it's going to get passed, the inquiry is going to get passed to finance to be okayed, or you're going to have to take the inquiry away and think about it for a while whilst you make a decision. But during all of this period, what are we doing? What are we constantly doing with the customer? The customer needs nurturing. They feel anxiety, they're anxious. So we're always in constant communication. Yeah, we're speaking to the customer all of the time, even if there's no update, even if there's no information. We're contacting the customer and saying, look, Mr. Smith or John, because we prefer to use their first names because, yeah, it makes us closer, like a friendship. Yeah. We say, John, there's no change at the moment, but I'm on top of this. I'm keeping track of it. Don't worry about it. So we're constantly in contact. Now, looking more specifically at signposting, this is going to work. There's this idea of the 5 W's, which many of you, I'm sure, will have come across in some way before. It's who, what, why, where, and when. These are the questions that you think to yourself. You say, right, this is the information that I need to give the customer. What are the specifics about the inquiry, and how do I work them into this template? We'll move on to the first one. This is dead simple stuff. Okay. The first one is who. Now it might seem a bit obvious, especially if there's only 2 of you talking to each other. Okay. But it's always good to iterate, or reiterate, reaffirm, give them the information. So say if you have an inquiry come in to the disputes resolution, and the customer says, I've made an order, paid for these goods, I've received them. However, it was apparel, a dress, but the quality of the fabric was rubbish, and there were holes and missed stitches and all sorts in there. I'm not happy with it. It's not as described. I'd like a refund. So in that scenario, given that we've already got the order number, we've pulled up the details in Trader, we've looked at it, we've looked at the communication between the buyer and the seller. What we're going to do now, I'm guessing, is we're going to ask for some sort of evidence, some sort of either video or photographic evidence. So we need to instruct the customer to do this, and I apologise if this is an overly simplified example, but I think it's important. So we're going to say to the customer, right, well, what do we need? You tell me, you know better than I do. We're going to ask them for evidence. So what do we want? We're going to need them to take a video or photograph. Pictures, yeah. Clear pictures. Good, yeah. We're going to need them to send them to us. Email us the pictures, or put the video on YouTube maybe. We're also more than likely going to ask them to confirm the information that we have. Yeah, we're going to say, this is the situation, could you just confirm that this is the case? We're going to say when we need this. I mean, there's no point, we can't, if we say to the customer, well look, you need to send us pictures. The customer goes away saying, oh okay, as far as the customer knows, it could be tomorrow that you need them, it could be in 3 months' time, it could be in 6 months' time. So we need to tell the customer when we need to do that. And we also need to say who do you need to send the pictures to, DRC, customer service, through MyDHB. So taking this broadly as an inquiry, the first thing we're going to do is use remember the structure is who, what, why, where, when. We've all done this before, have we? You seem to know it off by heart already. Either that or you're really quick learners. You're really quick learners, okay. The first one's who, so we're going to say, right, we'll call him John, or Jane, let's go with Jane today. We're going to tell them, so the inquiry, we're going to send them this information. We're going to say, Jane, this is what you need to do. Okay, it's a tiny example, this is, so it doesn't, there's not going to be a huge amount of text. So we say the customer, but we don't use the customer, we say Jane, her first name, get that rapport building. Jane, this is what I would like you to do for me. Okay. Then we tell them, what is it? We need you, we would like you. Okay, not need, we'd never want to say we need you to. If we need them to do something, it means we're not in control. Does that make sense? When we say to somebody, I need you to do this, that means I can't do it myself. Okay, that means I'm not in control of the situation. If I was in absolute control, I wouldn't need them to do it. Okay, so we say, I would like you to do this, or please could you. You never use the word need. Removes your social value. So we just say to them simply, what do we need to do? Could you please, or would you please, send me...
It is very appreciated that...
Sorry?
Continue.
She means I'm very appreciative that you
Just to express the respect.
Maybe. It would be appreciated if you could. Maybe. It depends on the customer. It depends on how you judge the relationship. If it's more familiar, if it's more friendly, I would appreciate it if you could. It's quite formal. Appreciate is quite a formal word. Please could you? It's much shorter, do you know what I mean? It's much more familiar. Please could you? It's much faster, they're more likely to react in an instantaneous way. If you say, please, I would appreciate it if you could, it's still a bit formal. It's on a par with using their surname. Mr. Smith, it would be appreciated if you could. As opposed to, Jane, please could you, or could you? Yeah. It works, it depends on the situation, depends on the relationship, the rapport that you've built with them. If they're one of these few individuals who have gone, no, use my surname, then it would be appreciated if it would be more applicable, because the customer has said, I want to maintain this formal relationship. Normally I'd plumb for, if possible, or please could you, if you wouldn't mind, maybe that's a bit too formal. But essentially what we're doing is we're saying what they need to do. So we make it, and we deal in fact, we're logical, we're clear, and we're concise. So please could you send me some clear pictures of the items. Yeah, just as simple as that. There's there's no rocket science to it. Okay, so the next thing is why. Now, a lot of people miss this out. They just ask the customer to do something for them. And as far as the customer is concerned, they're just being asked to do something. They're being asked to perform an action. In itself, being asked to do something means that there's no social value in it. You want me to do something for you. And then that's it. It's not, you want me to do something for you, and in return I'll get value. Yeah? It's all about reinforcing when we ask somebody to do something or suggest to them things that they would like to do. It's all about backing it up with this social value. Okay? So in the why step, we say why they need to perform, why we would like them to perform that action. So we say, please could you send us some information? Okay? And then in why we say we need to have these, or we would like to have these images, or these images would be helpful in reinforcing your dispute. Okay? If, again, I nearly made a mistake myself, if we say we need to have these pictures to resolve your dispute. The problem there is we're using the need again. Need is applied to the customer, which means control is being taken away from us. We're needing them again. Okay? If we need them, we're not in control. So we don't say we need these pictures in order to resolve the dispute. We say we would like to have these pictures, or these images would be useful to help resolve your dispute. Okay. The next is where. Okay, which is probably is really significant from the perspective of DRC, because, or from a DHgate customer, because we have multiple different places you can send information. Okay, we've got the platform itself, my DHgate, the communication. We have email addresses, we have customer service addresses, we have phone lines, we also have the SNS stuff, so Facebook, we have YouTube as well, customers post stuff on YouTube. If a video file is too big, their email program may say, no, you can't send it. So some customers find it easier to upload evidence to YouTube, or the idea of really, it would be good if we could change it so they start using things like Yoggle and things like that to upload videos, because then everybody will be able to. Oh, sorry, yeah. It's Yoggle.
It's right.
Is it? Okay. You're worried. So there's many different outlets, many different areas, places that the customer can pass information to us through. So the where is really important. We tell the customer where they need to send the information. Yeah. If it was an action that they were performing, so say if it was a dispute relating to a payment. So the customer makes a payment via their bank. They actually go to their bank and transfer some money, which I think you can do with e-wallet.
Yeah.
Yes, you can transfer with e-wallet. And they say that I know you probably, DRC wouldn't deal with this, it's probably more of a finance issue, but the money never arrived. The inquiry would be different, and in this scenario, the where, if we would probably say to them, you'll need to go and speak to your bank to find out what's happened. Where's the money gone?
Yeah.
So the where in that situation would be a physical where as opposed to somewhere on the internet. The where would be your bank, where you transferred the money from. So it could also be a MoneyGram office. So it's not just applicable to the online world that we're used to dealing with. This who, what, why, where, when process can be applied to any sort of scenario. Anyway, the where is, we say where you need to send the information in this instance. The when, again, this is important because the customer, two things can happen here if we don't say when. One, the customer will needlessly be waiting to send information. They don't know when, so they go, oh well, it mustn't be that urgent, I'll do it in a couple of days' time. Okay? The knock-on effect being, obviously, they've waited a couple of days, then they've sent the information, then we've got it, we've used it, and then we've done some sort of resolution. But by that time, it's 3 or 4 days longer than it could have been. Yeah, so we're making the customer wait. And remember, the customer expectations timely. We want us to do it in a timely manner. In that scenario, the customer has waited. It's not us who've incurred the wait, but we haven't told them how quickly we need the information. When is very important because it's a soft way to suggest urgency. Does that make sense? Yeah, do you know what I mean by if something's urgent, something's the urgency of something is how important it is to do it quickly. Yeah. So say if I had a phone call that I needed to make urgently, I might need to make it now. I might have to go and make an urgent phone call. If it's not that urgent, it means it could probably wait. We can use the when mechanism here. We can use this when tool, this when opportunity, to suggest to the customer softly, because we don't tell the customer what to do, we make suggestions. We can use this to suggest to the customer that it's urgent that we get this information. Okay. Likewise, we can spin that around, turn it on its head. We can also use it to tell the customer that something isn't urgent. So let's say that we're making an assessment on a dispute. It's going to take 14 days. We can say to the customer that we can suggest that it isn't going to be, that it's not, there's no urgency in the dispute in this period where we're doing the assessment. That way, they automatically know to sit back for a while. I'm not going to be chasing DRC up all the time. I know it's not urgent. Does that make sense? A bit abstract? No?
Actually, we do tell the customer that the time frame for the
It's going to be
dispute.
40. If you use a softer approach, I mean, you're right in the fact that we need to tell the customers how long it's going to be. What I'm saying is, in the way that we talk to people, there are ways of throwing frames. Yeah. Do you remember we were talking about frames yesterday?
Yeah.
There are ways of suggesting information without actually saying it, which has the same effect, but it's softer. It's less aggressive. If you tell somebody this is going to be 14 days, yeah, then there's fact, there's no way out of it. If you can say to somebody, well, we're going to be dealing with this dispute, but there's no real urgency at the moment, it automatically softens it, and then you can follow it up with, it will be done within 14 days. So it's about throwing that frame. It's about loading the sentences that you use to create a softer sort of language, if that makes sense. So it's not like it's 14 days.
Sense.
Yeah. Do I? I hope I am. It's about just taking the sharp edges off things, so it's easier for the customer to handle, so they don't feel they're sort of getting assaulted. Okay, so just out of interest, have we come across this sort of process before? The who, what, why, where, when? Have we ever used it previously, yeah?
Yes.
Okay. What we will do later is we've got some examples and we're going to go through real world examples. We're going to look at how we can improve that communication by applying these techniques. Okay. Just to give you some, something you can actually go away with and say, oh, that's how it works. Have any of you ever been in a situation in DHgate where you've had some conflict with a customer?
Yes.
You surprise me. It happens. It happens for sure. It's not nice.
Yes. To be frank, it's not nice.
It's not.
But as you said, different people have different styles and
Requirements.
yeah.
Definitely. but we should all be capable, and I'm sure we all are, of being able to take the most irate individual in the world and bringing them all the way down to a level where they're calm, we can talk to them. It's difficult, it takes a bit of practice. As a bit of background, I used to work for a company, telecoms company, when I first sort of started working for corporates in customer service, and they had a bit of a reputation for not providing the best service. So sometimes the phones didn't work, sometimes the TV didn't work, the internet didn't always work, but they were cheap, so lots of people bought them. We used to have a lot of difficult customers, okay, shouting, some horrific things.
Customers.
Yeah, to the point where they'd be so angry, they would leave their home, they would come down to our offices, and security would have to stop them because they wanted to get in and, you know what I mean, have a go, beat up the people that they spoke to on the phone. They were that angry, really, really angry people. That didn't happen all the time. That often enough. They do, yes. So avoiding conflict is good for everybody. It's good for you as customer service professionals because you don't want to be shouted at all the time. Okay. And it doesn't make you feel good. Do you know when you get shouted at and you finish, say you're on the phone and you put it down and you're shaking a little bit like that, your adrenaline's going and you're not quite sure what's happening. You're not happy about that. The customer isn't happy about that. They don't want to be getting angry. So it's good for everybody if we can try and deal with this. The cause of conflict. Why are people angry? Why are people aggressive? Why do people want to push back at you as a member of DRC? There's normally a loss involved, okay, especially in your line of work. So
I think generally is the result is far from their expectations.
to be honest, I don't think the result is normally that far from the expectation. I just think it's made worse by other things. You've got to bear in mind that the people who use our platform, the majority of them are consumers, individual buyers. Okay, they're buying products from a company in China who have no offices. Okay, they haven't got any physical offices in their country. They're sending money to another country. They're then having to wait, and then the goods may or may not arrive after receiving tracking numbers that don't work. Okay, all of this has happened. Then the goods arrive, and then it's not an iPhone. It's Shanghai. Do you know what I mean? Shocker, which is just awful, which doesn't actually work in that country. The anxiety that the customer feels is overwhelming when you think about it. They're buying to buy a phone, it's going to cost them 1,000 kwai. They've sent 1,000 kwai to China. And what's happening? Do you know what I mean? It's 3 weeks, 4 weeks, where's it gone? It's not outside the boundaries of the conceivable world that this could be somebody trying to steal money from you. Yeah. What a lot of, this is a part of this is to do. A part of this is customer education as well. A lot of the customers I feel don't realise that we offer this escrow, or what escrow service is. I don't like the word escrow because it doesn't mean anything. Yeah. Escrow, the buyer protection.
Oh.
Yeah. We spoke for about 3 months with her, you know.
escrow 就是第三方工作的平台。
Sorry, maybe that's am I out of date with my use of that? The buyer protection service. They don't. A lot of customers don't realise that when they pay for something, the money goes to us,
Yeah.
and then we hold the money. It doesn't go to the seller.
Yes.
Okay, and then they just don't understand how it works. The process isn't transparent. So this is sending money that have been scammed. There are other scenarios where they paid for something, they've received it, they're not happy, okay, or it's not as described, whatever, and then we say, well, you know, we'll arbitrate, we'll find a resolution, but then we turn around and say, but you have to pay for the shipping to send it back, which is a hot topic, but the problem with this is, do you know, the mentality of the buyer is they're buying something from DHgate, not from another seller, okay? So in their mind, it's the same as going into a shop, finding something they like, paying for it and going away. When you buy something from a shop, if you're not happy with it, well, certainly in the West, if you're not happy with it, you take it back. They give you a refund, or they change it for something else.
Yeah.
That's it. There's no question about this. Okay, it doesn't cost you anything. You go back, you change it. This is what the customer expects. Now, when they come to a dispute, for instance, and we have to find an arbitration between the buyer and the seller, it may be that we have to ask the buyer to pay for the shipping to send it back, yeah? And then we give them the refund. The problem with that is they're losing money. Yeah, they are losing out. There's no doubt about this. It's crazy. They've brought something, it either doesn't meet their expectations, or it doesn't work, or for some reason they're not happy with it. Then they're having to pay again to send it to the other side of the world again, and then they're going to get their money back. Okay, and then maybe to make it worse, they've used the coupon, and of course they don't. We subtract the cost of the coupon when we do a refund. That's probably the second most, out of what I see on SNS, on Facebook, through social media, this is the second largest cause for conflict, on top of the seller supplying rubbish. Okay? Either products that don't meet quality assurance, products that don't work, products that aren't what they say. There are others, there's a multitude of things. We know this, you know this, you've seen it day to day. But it doesn't detract from the fact that there still is conflict, okay? Regardless of what the cause is, we have to try and use our tools of language to try and speak to not so much confront, but speak to the customer in such a way that the customer sees us as their friends, okay? And that they're more likely to speak to us in a reasonable way, yeah? We'll see what we can do for them. We have a difficulty in the way that we work. We rely on two methods, two ways of communicating, either verbal, so on the telephone, or through written, so emails, letters, etc. We talked earlier about the difficulties between the two. How, when you speak to somebody face to face, you can see their body, you can see their facial expressions, you can see their arms.
Yeah.
We get extra information. When we go from a physical interaction to just a purely verbal, so just speaking, you can't see the other person, we lose that information, but we still have.
Voice.
Yeah. We can hear the dynamics, the tones, whether they're high or low, they're shouting, they're soft, they're crying. It happens. So we've still got useful information here. When we switch down to a written level, we have nothing. Okay? It's almost impossible to interpret somebody's emotional state through written language. Yeah? Even if they tell you what emotional state they're in, they say, I'm sad, I'm upset. That, we've got no way of knowing that for sure. Okay? They may feel that they have to write that, but it might not be the emotional state they're in. So written, I said this yesterday, is when we deal with written communication, it has to be factual. Okay, that's the only way we can go with it. Seems a bit cold. It has to be factual. But there are some tools which we'll go into with the examples that we can use to get around it. But when it comes to conflict, verbal conflict over the phone or face to face, it's emotionally driven. Okay. The reason it's emotionally driven is because verbal communication is instant. It's happening now. Okay. Your chemical state, so what's going on in your brain, plus all of these different thoughts of they've done this, they've done that, this has happened to me, that's happened to me, leads to a state of anxiety, which is an emotion. They're upset, disappointed, they're angry. Well, all of these things come out when they're speaking. Okay. With written communication, it's more logical. The reason being is they have time. It's not happening now. Okay. If you write to somebody, you go, oh, right, you bash out an email and you're like, then you go away, then you have a cup of tea, and then you come back and then you sit there and you go, is that a bit too much? Do I need to say that? Is that going to help my situation any? They have, with written communication, there's a delay, a buffer, like a space where they have time to sort of think about it more. And then they realise, as the emotional stuff falls off, as they calm down, when they're writing this communication, they go, oh, hold on, wait a minute, if I say that, this isn't going to help my situation. This is not going to help resolve my circumstance. So you tend to find that written communication is more logically orientated, which is good in a way, which is helpful. Sometimes what you can do is move the way you communicate from verbal to written. Okay, say if the customer is struggling or constantly relying on perhaps some negative emotional effects, you're shouting a lot and you can't. Yeah? Sometimes what you can do is write it, and it gives the customer the opportunity to just be able to distance himself from this emotional environment, and then it helps you get just the logical information that comes out. This is just a reiteration of what we've been saying. We speak quicker than written communication, which means we don't have the time when we speak to really think about it. This works both ways. This works from the customer speaking to us and us speaking to the customer. This is why it's important to use those okay so. That okay so mechanism we were talking about yesterday.
Yes.
You know when you're report building, yes I understand, I know, sure. Okay, so. Gives you that little bit of time to think about what you're going to say before you're going to say it to the customer. Make sure it is what you actually want to say. On a bit of a tangent, me and Robert were just talking downstairs about some stuff, and we were talking. I mean, this is phone-based, really. We were talking about putting people on hold and apologising about stuff. I mean, when you're on the phone with people, do you put them on hold whilst you look at an inquiry, or?
In general, we don't communicate
by the phone?
Yeah.
Just by, okay. Okay, fair enough. Perhaps okay, let's not concentrate too much about verbal at the moment. However, what I would say, well, we'll come on to that later actually, we'll come on to apologising. Managing verbal conflict, given what you've just said, that you don't normally speak to people over the phone, I think it's probably useful that we look at it anyway. Have you ever heard there's a phrase in English that to err is human, but to forgive is divine? What this means is humans like to err, they like to air their dissatisfaction or their angst. They want to say something, feel it's necessary. So we're never going to be able to avoid the natural desire for somebody to want to get stuff off their chest, to have a release of emotion, a release of energy. You should expect this to happen when you're speaking to a customer. It's natural. There are a couple of ways that we can handle this. We were talking earlier about, or I touched briefly on this idea of emotional steps, emotional ladders. Have you come across this before? It's like, imagine we have a set of stairs going, like stairs that go from one floor to another. Okay. And with a, we'll call them angry customer. It's not the best word, but with an angry customer, imagine the customer is on the 8th floor, and you're on the 7th. One approach to reducing their emotion, the amount that they sort of let off their anger, is to gradually bring them down to the 7th floor, step by step. Are we familiar with this? Yeah. There's a couple of tools that we can use, such as loudness. Let's try something a bit interactive. If somebody comes on, say, we'll use the phone as an example, because it's easier to imagine this. You speak to somebody on the phone and they're shouting at you. The natural thing to do is to raise your voice back, to not shout, sometimes shout, not always, but you tend to get louder. You're battling to be heard over the customer, and it's a fight to try and be heard. Who can be the loudest? Who can be stern? And this is a false economy. There's no value in this. Because the more you shout, the more they shout, the louder you get, the louder they get. And it just spirals out of control. And eventually, one of you will slam the phone down, and that'll be it. Okay. One of the best approaches to stop somebody from shouting, to absorb the aggression, is just to speak quieter. Say, sorry, could you look? Okay, I understand. Use your empathy words. Okay, I understand. And then use the empathy ladder. I know that's shouting. I know. Sure, I understand. And you get it down and down, and then you get quieter and quieter. And as you get quieter, they're listening to you, but they have to listen harder. Yeah? And they know that if they shout, they're not going to be able to hear you as well. Yeah? On the subconscious, this is subconscious. And just start talking quieter, nice, round, softer voice. Gradually, they'll come round to it and say, I understand. And they'll calm down. This is a really, really positive tool that we can use to try and reduce the amount of aggression that somebody has. And eventually, they'll go, yeah, I know, and they'll sort of give way and they'll start empathising and talking. Empathy words we looked at yesterday. I know, so you're realigning yourself. Yeah, for sure. Okay. Okay is okay, but it's at the end. A little okay. Okay, so we know empathy words, we're good at them. Verbal nods, this is a reaffirmation thing, where this is really when you're speaking to somebody in real time, when you're actually speaking. If you use, do we know what I mean by verbal nods? It's if you're on the phone, you're like, right, you're just making a noise. It means nothing. But it just tells the person on the other end that you're still there. Yeah. Okay. Verbal nods are really powerful when combined with pauses. Somebody comes on and they're like, you know, they're mental, and you've tried your loudest, rather than walking down, they're still going, okay? You're putting in these verbal nods all the time. Okay, and they're not stopping, they're still going, do you know what I mean? They've got so much they want to release. The best thing to do at this point, if you've been using verbal nods, is then just to pause. Like that. Bit of silence. Because they're used to the nods. Okay? They're used to somebody being there so they know to carry on. If you put in a pause, like that, they'll go, and another thing, and it wasn't my fault, and this happened, and I want my money back, and they'll keep going, they're not hearing anything. They're not getting any response. Okay? They're not receiving any social value back from you. All of a sudden it stopped. Okay, and this, to them, they go, oh, hold on, wait a minute. Are you still there? Yeah. And then you pause for a little bit longer. So they panic. Okay? They go, or they've just walked off. And then you go, yes, John, I'm still here, I'm just listening to what you're saying. Okay? And this creates a bit of, sometimes you call it an awkward pause. Do you know when you're having a conversation with somebody and you just stop? And that feels a bit, oh, that doesn't feel nice. Do you know what I mean? Oh, that was weird. Okay. It's like putting a roadblock in the conversation and they'll just stop. You don't know, I mean, there's relatively few occasions that you have to use that. Most people can be brought down level by level. But a combination of verbal nods and the pause is the killer tool. Because if you want somebody just to stop, to throw in a bit of a sudden change in direction, just to get them to listen, to get them to pay attention to you, pause, make it feel really awkward, then they'll start to panic. Have they left? Give it a little bit longer and they say, yeah, I'm here. I'm just listening to you. You've got their attention 100% at that point. They're asking you, instead of just firing information and emotion at you, they're then asking you questions, they're asking you for information. And when they ask you for information, we can give it to them, and that's where we pull back some of our social value. We say, yes, just listening to you, just trying to get everything straight, trying to understand, trying to feel, or trying to understand your feelings. Okay, we get really simple. And they'll back down and they'll turn around. I mean, they may just go rah again. But if that does happen, you just have to start back on the steps, get it back up, and then just try to bring them down, 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 down. There's an idea. This sort of exists in the service industry, really, where say if we maybe we're a company. And one of the services we provide is to go out and fix something for the customer. Maybe a washing machine, a computer, a TV, air conditioning machine. There's a concept called first time fix. And the idea is that if you have an engineer go out and they fix the problem the first time, it's a lot cheaper for the company. It's much more efficient to the company than having to send an engineer out 2-3 times. This at first sounds like it's a benefit to the engineers. That engineers do your job right, okay? But it isn't. It's about the person who's speaking to the customer. It's about getting all the information, okay? And then the person who's speaking to the customer can decide what is the correct path, what's the correct course of action, where do we need to go with this, the first time, okay? Once they know, once they've got all the information, they can make a decision, then they can send an engineer out and it fixes it the first time. If you get the information wrong, and you send somebody out, likelihood is the engineer will come back without it being fixed. You'll have to do This is applicable in the same sense with DRC or any customer service environment. Get all the information and make sure your decision is the right one the first time. It's better for the company because we're not having to go back and deal with an inquiry again. It's better for the customer because they know, well, I'm going to have to contact the DHgate, but I know that they'll be able to fix it first time. I'm not going to be messing around. So this is the idea of first time fix backs up the need for us to get the information correct. If you've got somebody who's wants to engage with you in conflict, typically this is a verbal thing, it's emotionally led, it's not information led, it's not fact led. So you're more than likely going to get jaded information. Do you know what I mean by jaded? It's sort of like corrupt, skewed information. It's not going to be accurate. We want to bring these people down to a level where they're dealing with fact, so we can ensure that this is the right information. We can then go on to make the right decision, and then the customer gets the best possible experience. Okay? This helps customer engagement because we're meeting their expectations. If it isn't their expectation, then we've just raised it, which is even better. If you can raise a customer's expectation, it's brilliant, because that means all your colleagues then have to step up to that level, and then they have to start offering that level of service, and we just get better and better. That's what we want. So, written conflict. Now this is going to be perhaps of more use. We know that written communication is difficult. We can't tell what emotional state the customer is in. Because of this, we should avoid emotion altogether. Okay? There's no anything related to emotion. Get rid of. If we write something that has emotional context, if there's emotion in our written communication, although we know what it is, we know what we mean, the customer might interpret it completely differently. It's the same the other way around. The customer might think that they're trying to express one emotion, but when we read it, it's completely different. The easiest way to avoid this is just don't put any in. Be completely fact-based. Okay? You can still build on familiarity, so using their first name. Hi John. Say who you are. Use them 5 W's. Who, what, why, when. You can still build a rapport to an extent. Hi John, this is Moses from DHgate. I'm contacting you in regards to order number 12345. Just to clarify, so we're going to reaffirm, we're going to outline logically the information that we have about the case, and we're going to ask them if this is correct. Just to confirm, I understand the situation as follows, okay? And then we say, on the 13th, you purchased a iPad from seller Schofield. On the 20th, you received, on the 15th, Schofield provided you this tracking number. On the 20th, you received the item. On the 21st, you contacted DHgate to say that the item wasn't working in whatever way. Say the screen was cracked. On the 27th, we contacted, on the 22nd, DHgate, or my colleague, whoever, contacted you back. On the 27th, you opened the dispute. Okay, so what we've done is we've got all the facts. There's no emotional lead in this. It's just fact all the way. We've got the dates here. This is what happened. On this day, this is what happened. This day, this is what happened. This day. And all of this information has been framed with the question at the top. Okay, just to confirm, we understand the situation as follows. Well, this is what we understand has happened. That gives the customer the opportunity, before anything else in the correspondence, to go, yeah, that's right. If it's not, they'll contact you back. Okay. If it is right, the likelihood is they'll carry on reading. Okay. As long as we deal with fact in written communication and we avoid any sort of emotive content, we'll be fine. Now, coming back to what I was saying earlier, me and Lord talking about apologising. We need to speak about apologising because it's a tricky situation. Okay, naturally, you might want to apologise. Naturally, people do want to apologise if they're providing a service to somebody. And something's gone wrong or something hasn't, you just apologise anyway. The worst one, not the worst, but a common example is people will start a correspondence or finish a correspondence with, I apologise if you've received any bad service. If you start a correspondence, dear John, this is whoever from DHgate, first of all, I'd like to apologise for any inconvenience you've experienced. What we're saying there is DHgate would like to apologise, so we've done something bad. Okay, that's why we're apologising for any inconvenience you may have experienced. So we don't even know if they've experienced anything bad. We'd like to apologise for any. We'd like to apologise for any inconvenience you have experienced. So if we look at that again, any inconvenience you may have experienced. There's two things in there when you really look at it. One, they may or may not have had an inconvenience. Two, it's any inconvenience. Okay? Now, can anybody see the problem with the any inconvenience? What are we doing when we'd like to apologise for any inconvenience? They may have got up in the morning, gone down the road to get on a bus to go to work. The bus was late, they were late for work. They got in trouble. DHgate, for some reason, would like to apologise for that bus being late. We're apologising for any inconvenience. That's crazy. Yeah?
But they choose us and they bought the items through us, through our website.
Yeah.
Maybe on the home
Always
myself.
Yeah, but what are we apologising for?
Okay, so we was either right based on this situation, we apologize and next.
But why? But for any inconvenience? But is there an inconvenience? We don't know. My point is that people open up communications, they start communication with an apology because they feel that there's a need, that something has gone wrong. Typically the customer doesn't need an apology. It's dangerous to open with an apology because an apology is seeking reconciliation, resolve for something bad that's happened. You're asking somebody to forgive you for something bad that's happened. If you start communication with an apology, you're automatically throwing a negative frame. Okay? You're automatically telling the person who's reading that, hello, I'm Moses from DHgate, something bad's happened. Okay? Which means when they read through the rest of the information, they're automatically going to have this negative emotion because you've thrown them the frame. Likewise, at the end of the correspondence, some people like to round up. I mean, it happens all the time, but some people like to round up with a, we hope this is to your satisfaction, we apologise for any inconvenience you've experienced. So, you create this really nice communication, and you've kept it all positive, and at the end you've gone, we'd like to apologise for any inconvenience. So you've kept the positive or neutral all the way through, then all of a sudden you've thrown in a negative at the end. Okay? There's no need, it's not beneficial. we're going to look at this, the use of positive words. But the point is at the moment that apologies are rarely needed, okay? Or the use of an apology is rarely needed. There are better ways we can handle this. There are more positive ways we can apologise to a customer, okay, without having to say apologise. Sorry about that. That was a little lunchtime conversation I had, and it got me thinking. I thought perhaps we ought to cover that. Anyway, so we stay fact-focused. We avoid emotion. Clarity is the key in written correspondence. Okay. Who's ever used an abbreviation when writing to a customer?
Abbreviation.
Yeah, so say SMTH, is it something? Yeah, that's yeah, ASAP, DRC, CS, where you shorten a word down. You leave it. Yeah. Has anybody? Nobody's ever abbreviated. Okay. ASAP, yeah, that's one. That's one. When VIP, yeah. VIP. When I first came to China, when I first ever worked in China, which was only about 2 years ago, so, I spoke even less Chinese than I do now. Okay, and we had an office secretary. It wasn't a large company; it was a venture capital group we were working for, just developing a software platform. But we had this office administrator who used to help with various bits and things, and English was alright. But he used to send me emails, send other people emails, or agendas, or bits of meetings, and there was always this SMTH, I can't remember exactly how it was spelled, and I'd be reading through stuff. What does that mean? I have no idea. I've never seen this before. Apparently it's really common. I've never seen it before. No, the S is what it said. And I was like, what does that mean? And it used to throw me. I was like, oh, I can't follow this. Anyway, eventually I gave in. I had to go and ask, what does this mean? And apparently it meant something. The word something. I've never seen this before. And it's been drilled into me, especially working in IT, technical environments. We have a lot of abbreviations. But it's been drilled into me never to use abbreviations, and I thought, oh, it's just one of those things, you know, one of those things you get told. But I'd never experienced it until that point where I'd gone, what does that mean? There's a real realisation. Customers will get confused with abbreviations. But there's a hidden danger to using abbreviations. And it's about whether or not they think you're actually bothered, whether or not you care. And it works like this. If you send a written correspondence to a customer, a letter, an email, DHK instant message, when a customer reads the correspondence, they see abbreviations. One of the dangers you open yourself up to is them thinking they're not even bothered. They haven't got the time to spend writing the word, let alone the time spent dealing with my inquiry problem. Yeah? They haven't got the time to put in 2 extra letters in please. PLS, okay? And we all do it. I've done it for years. My worst one used to be ADV. ADV, advise. Advise. You know what I mean? So you didn't know. Advise customer. Used to use it all the time. But when the customer reads it, they'll think, one, oh, this doesn't make any sense. Two, if they're not a native English speaker, okay, it's just going to throw them. Google Translate doesn't handle them sort of abbreviations, okay? And then you also run the risk of the customer thinking, they haven't got the time for me, you know? They're abbreviating. They're not going to sort that problem out. They don't think I'm the only customer in the world. They're not dedicating themselves to it. It's a little thing. We all do it. But get out of the habit of using abbreviations. Okay? Expand all your abbreviations. It's really important. Likewise, this goes for not just shortened words, but things like DRC. Don't say DRC, they haven't got a clue, they don't work it. It's Dispute Resolution Centre. Likewise, CS, it's not CS, Customer Service. Trying to think of some other.
As soon as possible is okay.
No. As soon as possible. ASAP. Don't write ASAP. Okay. It's a bit of a 1980s Hollywood Americanism. Do you know what I mean? Somebody in a film, give me that report, please. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's a bit outmoded, it's a bit outdated. Plus, it's impolite. Do you know what I mean? ASAP. As soon as possible is much better. ASAP is more like an order. Do it now. Yeah, quite. ASAP, as soon as possible. I don't like it. I'd prefer to see as soon as you can. Yeah, because if you say as soon as you can, it's about when you have the convenience. If you say as soon as possible, it creates this idea in my mind that I have to go away, develop some sort of skill or some knowledge to make it possible for me to then go and do what you've asked me to do as soon as it's possible. It's not possible for you to do that. You know, I mean, you don't have the skills. You can't do that. That's crazy. It's insulting. As soon as you can. Yeah.
As soon as we can.
As soon as you can. It's a bit softer. Possible. Don't bring in possibilities. There's too much chance. I'd avoid that. Whilst we're on the subject, any other abbreviations that you want to ask about? No? Don't feel bad for using abbreviations, we all do it. This isn't about saying anybody's wrong. It's about looking at what you're doing well at the moment and then looking at how we can improve it. If you think of any abbreviations that you're not sure about, then just shout out any time and I'll give you my opinion on it. That's all it is. Okay. Alright, which segues nicely to positive language. Okay. So, now this is a hidden technique that we all use. Okay, we all use positive and negative language. Sometimes we're not always aware, we don't pay enough attention to it. But the way that we speak, written and verbally, decides on the shape of the frame that we throw, decides on the emotional state that the person listening or reading should put themselves in. Which sounds pretty obvious. When we look at the examples, this will become clearer. But we do, for some unknown reason, use negative words in written and verbal communication all the time. I don't know why we do it. Maybe we're naturally remorseful. Maybe we feel that we haven't done what we should for the customer or for somebody else, it's more than likely that we as people, as humans, don't like to deal with disappointment. Okay? We don't like to feel let down. We don't like to feel that we've let somebody down. So what we do is we automatically set our expectation low, and the frame is a negative thing, like something bad has happened. That way, when the customer responds or when the person responds to you, if they respond in a negative way, it's what you expected. Okay? Because you're thinking, oh, this is negative. If they respond in a negative way, that's fine, because you're expecting that. If they respond in a positive way, saying, oh, no, don't be silly, everything's fine, that's even better for you, because you have then got the customer to take you from a negative state to a positive, and you feel better for yourself. It's to make you feel better, I think. I think this is where it comes from. But the important thing is to remember that if we use a negative word or negative phrases, it automatically puts the recipient into a negative mindset. If we try and keep everything positive, then life will be a lot easier, because the customer, the recipient, will either be always positive or more positive than they were originally. Okay. Now, this is just a reiteration. I forgot that. Okay, ignore this, my poor formatting here. The use of negative words, again, like we were just saying, tells the customer that we're probably not going to meet their expectation. Okay? So we use some negative phrases, the customer's read it, and the customer's thinking, oh, this isn't going to go well. Do you know what I mean? This isn't what I want. A good example, how can I, in the UK, if you need a loan from the bank, for instance, this is a classic example. Do you know, say if you need to borrow some money from the bank, you go to the bank, you speak to the bank manager, and you explain, oh, I need to borrow £5,000. And they go away and they need to check some details. Sure, yeah, Mr. O'Hara, just wait here for a moment, we'll go away and just check this for you. Two things can happen. They can come back and they can be bubbly, alright? And they can sort of bounce in and they can go, hi, right, okay, no problem, that's it. Yeah, there we go. Or they can walk in and they can go, right, Mr. O'Hara. You know automatically, because they've lowered their voice or very serious, that you're not going to get that money. Do you know what I mean? They've said that. Essentially, they're setting my expectation before they've actually told me. They've given me time to prepare mentally for either yes or no. If it's a yes, then I'm happy, they sign, everybody's happy, yeah, I'll be the best of friends. If it's no, I'm already ready for the, okay. In fact, to the point where if they come in and they go, right, Mr. O'Hara, I can just go, okay, I know already that it's not going to be good news, so I could probably just get up and leave. All negative words and phrases can be swapped, okay? They can be changed, yeah? We can take a negative phrase and we can change it for a positive one, okay? This is really, really important and dead easy to do once you get into the routine of it, because it means you write a letter and then you just read through it and you go, is that negative, is that positive? Okay, we'll swap that over. Is that negative, that one? Swap that over. Which means when you send that out to the customer, it's all really, really positive. Okay, it puts them in a positive mindset. You're going to be a lot easier to cope with. Okay, you're going to be easier to do rapport with. You're not going to have to take them down that emotional staircase. You're not going to have to take them from the 8th floor to the 2nd. Okay. It takes a bit of time to get into the routine of avoiding the use of negative language. But it took me about 2 months, 3 months. Okay. So sort of subconsciously just write something and it'll be positive. Takes a bit of time, but you will get there. Now, there are some words here, straddle the sentence, I apologise for that, which are some very obvious examples of negative language. Okay, that's not our policy. That's not my department. I can't do that. I'm sorry. You know what I mean? These are all negative words. The bottom one's interesting because this, I mean, essentially what is I'm sorry? What are we doing there? We're apologising again for something. I'm sorry.
So how about I regret?
Regret's a negative thing. Regret, sorry, excuse me. Okay, I'm sorry. Regret's a negative. Regret and remorse aren't positive things. Do you know what I mean? They don't. You're never happy when you're regretful, I don't think. That's not our policy. Okay, let's have a think. How can we change that to be positive? Go on. Well, how can we change this sentence here? That's not our policy. Where's the negative bit in that phrase, in that sentence? No? Alright, the word not.
Not.
Yeah. That's the neck, that's the negative. Not. That's not our policy. What you could do here, clearly this is in a response to saying something. Like the customer's asked for something and we said, that's not our policy. What you could do, instead of saying not, you just tell them what our policy is. Our policy is this, this, and this. So we avoid the negative, get rid of the not. Okay? Likewise in the second one, these are weak examples, by the way, because I use the not here and the not here. Yeah, we need to talk about other examples that aren't those, but just as a breaching point to get into it, these are all. That's not my department. So how do we make that positive? Okay. Say this person's coming through to let's have a think.
How about I will help you to find the other element to help you to resolve this.
Absolutely. That'll work. An alternative way of saying it could be the department you need to speak to. I don't like this, remember from yesterday, I don't like passing people to other departments. But one way of saying it is the department who deals with this, or the department who can help you with this. Yeah? We remove the not. The third one is a little bit trickier. Okay? How do we deal with that? I cannot do that. But then you're saying, if you're saying it's out of my control, then what are we doing there? We're saying we're not in control.
I can help you to find somebody to help you.
You can do. It works, but it's a bit sort of oceanic. Do you know what I mean? It's like being in the middle of the ocean. You're going up and down emotionally. I can find you somebody to help you to do that. Okay. One way around I cannot do that is tell them something that they can do. Like you were saying, essentially, but more succinctly. Offer them something tangible, something that they can imagine. I can do this. Much the same as you were saying. You know, I can. Yeah. I can. Yeah. I can speak to my colleague. Yeah. So that way we're not passing them off to another department, we keep them with them. We're not saying, I can transfer you to this department, I can do this, I can do that. You say, I can speak to my colleague for you. Yeah? And then you can frame the rest of it, remove it. I'm sorry, we talked about this earlier. apologising. This just casts a negative frame automatically. You're telling them that you're not about to meet their expectations. I'm sorry, I can't do that. Yeah. I'm sorry, that's not the way they work. I'm sorry, this isn't going to happen. There's no need for that. I'm sorry usually has a comma and something after it. Okay. Apologise. This is what's going to happen. We don't really need to do that. We can just tell them what's going to happen. Okay? So instead of saying I'm sorry, just say, John, finance are going to have agreed to a 80% refund. Okay? Don't apologise. They've come for our help. We've helped them. We've done what we can. We've done what's right. We've done what the policy says. But we're not apologising because we're in the wrong. We've done what we said we will always do. We just need to tell them. I'd like to go through more examples of negative words, perhaps after the break. But does that sort of make sense? Can you see what we're trying to achieve through changing all of these negatives into positives?
It makes sense.
Does it? Yeah? Does it? The crew at the back? Is that? We need, well, I don't know what the word is in Chinese, but can you see where I'm trying to get to with changing negatives for positives?
Yeah.
Have we?
否义词句表，消极的变为积极。
Are there any questions? Is there anything you're not sure about? There must be some. Anybody?
No question.
Any questions at all? There's no questions whatsoever. I'm amazed. Don't be shy. You all know each other, and you sort of know me. No? Okay. If you do have questions, just ask them at any point. Jump in. That's the way I prefer it. I like this to be interactive. Finally, using positive language. It's a fundamental change. Fundamentally, it's so basic, it's so core to us as humans, it's so natural that it's going to take a bit of time for you to get out of the use of negative words. We like to use negative words because it creates an impact, it creates emotion in people we're speaking to. Because it's a fundamental change, you need to be proactive, you actively need to practice this. You should try doing it at home and at work, because it's not just customers who respond well to this, everybody does. If you speak to anybody in a positive way, they'll be positive back to you, okay? You share emotions. You should try it. Just try getting into a routine, and then eventually it'll just become natural to you. Okay, before we start looking at how to improve a specific example, I just want to touch on how we look at self-improvement, how we look at assessing the work that we've done, and how we suggest changes, okay? Now this is part of some work that I helped develop about 8 9 years ago, and I'll be honest with you, we spend a week doing this, okay? So this is a very concise, reduced down version of it. Hopefully in the future we'll be able to sit down, we'll be able to do this properly. Normally what we would do is take you away, get you into pairs and actually do role plays. With a bit of luck we'll be able to do this at some point in the near future. Okay, but what we're going to do is look at feedback. Now, feedback can be, it's any information that we get as individuals or as a company from another person about how we're doing. Okay? Now, traditionally, feedback is delivered. People give us feedback using something called this praise sandwich. Okay? You're probably familiar with it. It's the idea is that you start off with something good, with the praise. So you say, I thought that you handled that call really well. Then you say something bad, saying, but the way that you gave the information was bad. And then you finish off with saying something good, like, but you were really polite. Okay? So the reason that people do this is because they don't want to be critical. Okay? They don't like saying bad things to other people. So what they do is they try and disguise the bad stuff in 2 layers of good. Okay? There are 2 problems with this. There are 3 problems with this. Okay? 1, they overpraise. Okay? Because they feel really bad about being critical, they put too much emphasis, they stress the praise. Okay? The problem with that is you lose resolution, you lose the information that the person you're feeding back to needs in order to improve. Too much praise hides the critical part. The other side is the critical part is too heavy. Okay? It's too much criticism or it's delivered in the wrong way. In which case, the person that you're giving the feedback to feels bad. They feel that they're not capable of doing what they should be able to do. Okay? As a model, it's rubbish. Don't like it. It's really ineffective. Okay. So the main problems is it doesn't concentrate on improvement. It concentrates on some good stuff and some bad stuff. Yeah? It says what's good, what's bad. It doesn't say how can that person improve it. As we were just saying, the message gets lost for overcompensating one or the other, either being overly praising about something or overly critical about something. So the person who's listening doesn't know what's happening. They get confused. And at the same, in a related sense, the recipient doesn't know what emotion to feel. They're confused because they're getting good stuff, they're getting bad stuff. Where should I be? How should I feel? I don't know. You're hiding it in 2 layers, 3 layers of emotion. So we spent some time, a company called Dixon Stores Group, which is Europe's largest electrical retailer. We had a large contact centre, lots of customer service and technical support staff. And one of the things we wanted to do is concentrate on improvement as opposed to this praise and criticise system. Okay, it's about making the individuals better. So we came up with a system called S3. Now, to give him props, the key person behind this was a guy called Kevin Whedon, who has since given up the life of corporate training. He now lives in California selling organic vegetables. He's happy. Anyway, S3 concentrates on improvement. It doesn't look at praising or criticising. Okay? The S3 stands for Specify, Stretch, Summarise, which I'll go into in a second. It focuses on improvement, removes any of the negativity. There's no point in having negativity and feedback. It doesn't help anyone. It just makes them feel bad or confused. And it also sends a clear message to the individual as to what they should be doing, what they need to do to improve. Okay, so this is how it works. It's dead simple. When you give feedback to somebody, there's no point in trying to cover every possible aspect. Yeah? Too much information. And if you give them 7 points, 7 things that they go away to try and improve, it's pointless because they're trying to do 7 things at once. Okay? much better off as humans concentrating on one thing, trying to improve that. And then once we've got that sorted, we come back, we improve the next thing, do it step by step. So the first thing you do with S3 is focus on one area. Once you've found an area that you feel is important to focus on, significant, you say what you like about it, you specify, say what you like about it. So let's have an example. I'm speaking to somebody on the phone. Forgive me for using phone as an example, but that's what I'm using. Speaking to somebody on the phone, and I come off, finish the call, okay? The first thing that I should do as an individual is ask somebody for feedback, okay? People should ask you for feedback. You should ask people for feedback. You should never go up to somebody and force feedback on them, okay, in a self-improvement sense. If they're not asking you for feedback, it means they're not ready to receive it, okay, so it'll be a waste of energy. At the same time, as individuals, you should always be asking each other for feedback, okay? This is critical to your self-improvement. I could step aside and say, Yvonne, look, could you have a look at this or listen to this call and give me some feedback? This is the first step. You ask for feedback. So, I've asked my colleague for some feedback on this call. So they go, they listen to it, they download the call, and they listen to it. And they decide, well, okay, I'm going to concentrate on the mannerism, the empathy, and the rapport that I'm building with the customer. Okay? I feel that this is the most important bit for this call. It varies. Okay? You have to decide what it is. So they come to me, and the first thing they say is they're unaware they're going to use this praise sandwich, and they're going to say, I like the way that you use the customer's first name. But, always going to be negative, but you didn't change your tone enough, okay? You're too mono, you spoke like this all the time, the customer got really bored, okay? You're too mono. However, the second bit of praise, I like the way that you ended the call, because of what happened. My colleague goes away, does some training, looks at S3, comes back, gives me feedback again, okay? And he's looking at empathy, okay? So he's picked empathy again, it's still important. And he picks one specific thing that he really likes, okay? And he comes back and he says, I really like the way you use the customer's first name, okay? So here we've got no difference, there's no difference from the praise sandwich at the moment. The next thing he does is look for a stretch. The stretch is the bit that you improve, okay? So in the praise sandwich, this would be criticism. It would be negative. We've got rid of that. We're now looking for a stretch, for an improvement. So he says, I really like the way that you use the customer's first name. I think you could make it even better, okay, so there's no negativity in there at all. I think you can make it even better by changing your tone.
Yeah.
Okay? So it's not being negative, it's just saying, here's how you could improve it. And then finally, at the end, he summarises briefly with what he said. So, from top to bottom, he says, I really like the way you use the customer's first name. I think you could improve it by changing your tone. Okay? Overall, this is the summary. It was really good, because we're staying positive, but I think you could really improve it by changing your tone. Now to the person, to the person receiving this feedback, they've not heard any negativity at all, yeah? There's nothing negative in there. What they have heard is that my colleague really likes the way that I use the first name. I know how I can improve what I'm doing. I've been told how I can improve, so I can go away and actually start doing that improvement. Yeah? I don't have to go away, think about how this person's been critical, think about how my use of tone was negative and how I can change that, because my colleague has told me you can make it better by using your tone. So I know what to do, so I can go away and start doing it straight away. And then at the bottom, the summary is just to reinforce how I can make it better, and also to make sure that I'm feeling good about myself. So I really, really like the way, but on the whole it's really good, but it could be even better by using modulated tone. Okay. Sorry. I'll make sure everybody gets a copy of the slides, by the way, and the videos from the session, so you can go back and review it. Now, it's a small change, but it's a significant one. Okay? But it's something I would like everybody to start using. Okay? There's two parts. How often do you set time aside to speak to each other about your work? How often do you say, Yvonne, could you have a look at this? Give me some feedback. I dare say, not often. Do you do that at all?
No.
Okay, that's all right. Same with loads of companies that don't. It doesn't take long. It takes about 15 minutes. Okay. Just need a bit of time to read. The other person needs a bit of time to read through it and think about it. Then it takes 15 minutes, maybe at the most, to feedback to it. Okay. It doesn't take. If you do this once a week, once a fortnight, 2 weeks, it's not a huge amount of time. Okay. It's not a lot of work, but it means that each and every one of you will start improving straight away. Okay. And you'll grow stronger and stronger as a team. And then you can start, because you'll all be improving in different areas, that means when somebody comes to you and asks you to give them feedback, you've learned little techniques, little things that you can do to suggest to them to improve. And it just brings you all up. That is all there is to it. Like I said, we used to spend about a week on it. We would do things like, we'd have a big training room, probably about 4 or 5 times the size of this, with lots of phones, and maybe 60 people in a group. And we'd have them phone each other, one pretending to be a customer, the other one pretending to be a customer service advisor, and some would be nasty, some would be nice, you could take it however you want. And there'd be a third person who listens in to each of the calls. Okay, we're working teams of 3. And at the end of each call, you'd come off, you'd sit next to each other, and you'd practice doing this feedback. Sounds ridiculous, sounds like one of those just crazy corporate training things, but it really does work. It really does work. And we were famous for a short period for our improvement. It's not a big thing, but can we all see the difference between a praise sandwich, so praise, criticise, praise, and this S3, specify, stretch, summarise? Can we see how we've got rid of the criticism, and instead of using criticism, we've put in a specific area that person can improve? Yeah? I think I really want to do more on this. I need to get material together and I need to sort the phones out. But we're going to come back and we're going to look at this later and we're going to try this out and we're all going to get into the habit of using this system, I'm hoping. And then we're all going to start improving each other. Because we all have strengths, we're all very good at stuff. But our areas of strengths, where we're good, varies. We're all good, we just have different strengths. And let's get sharing that information so we can improve together as a family. Okay, having said that, let's move on to some real-world examples. Okay, I wanted to do that because I want you to use specify, stretch, and summarize to go through this example we have here. Okay, and I want you to speak to me in S3 language, in specify, stretch, summarize, and give the group examples of how we can improve this. It's not about being critical, it's not about being negative, it's about realizing the value, the good bits that are in this, and then looking where we can make it even better. We're going to have a look at a quick example of a message. I don't think you've got it on your sheets, apologies for that, about how negative language is used. Okay? Now this is real, it's anonymous, thank God, yeah. This is real, this is a conversation that happened between a member of our family and one of our customers. Now, the green bits are the bits that I think are good, really good, that I like. The red bits are areas where I think we can improve. Okay? So, this is, do you know DH chat, is that what it's called? The instant messaging thing, where the customer goes to the website, clicks on the button, and they can talk. So these are, I think, is it VIP, gold and silver customers. It may be other customers as well, I can't remember. I've got a feeling that I've told you it's gold, silver, and gold. But anyway, doesn't matter. So here, hello, this is CSR. CSR is the name of the person from DHK Customer Service Centre, which I believe this message is generated by the system. So and then I think this is as well. Hello, may I help you? The CSRs come in saying, hello, how may I help you? This is an awareness thing. Perhaps they're not sure that the system automatically says that. The first thing that I really like about the introduction is how may I help you? Okay? How may I help you? A lot of people use the can. How can I help you? Now, it doesn't seem like there's a huge amount of difference there, but there is. If you say, how may I help you? It's like saying, I'm here, please ask me to do something for you. Okay? If you say, how can I help you? It's stronger. Yeah? It's how can I help you? It's like you're asking them, what do you want? How can I help you? It's a small but significant detail. How may I help you? So I really like that. Then the customer goes, hello. So they're here, okay. I need to get a refund of a purchase for several months. So, right here, I'm not sure what's going on. They're saying they need to get a refund for a purchase for several months. Now this could mean one of two things in my mind. It could mean that they made a purchase several months ago and they need a refund. Or they've been making purchases over several months and they want a refund. Okay? So this could be a reseller who's purchasing phone cases. Yeah? And they purchase 100 phone cases every 2 weeks or every month. And they've been making these purchases and there's been 10 in every 100 which has been faulty. Okay? But they've carried on purchasing. So they're saying they want a refund for those several purchases. Either way, I don't know. There's some ambiguity. I don't know what's going on. Okay. So the next thing our CSR does, CSR Customer Service Representative, because I shouldn't be using acronyms, but it's the only thing that could fit into the cell. They say, the first thing they do is just say, I'm sorry for the unhappy experience you have. How do we know they're unhappy? Where did they say they're unhappy? They're not. They're just saying they want a refund. Do you know what I mean? They're not saying they're unhappy. What's happening is we're telling them that they're unhappy. We're saying, you're unhappy now. we're apologising straight away. We don't need to apologise, but we certainly don't. I just don't know how you get to that step about them being unhappy. They haven't told you. Okay, so then the next thing we do is they ask for the order number. Now, unfortunately, I didn't get the time to dive into this particular account, but that's okay. The order number next. We're asking for some details so we can go away and get more information. We need to get information because we need to tell the customer the information to get social value and to start building this trust. Okay. And they say this here, then we can check more details for you soon. Now, I think we could improve that. We could get more details for you soon. This might just be semantics, the use of the language. Soon, we don't need to say that. Soon is an arbitrary, an unknown amount of time. Soon doesn't mean a minute, 5 minutes, half an hour, a day, a year, a millennium. Soon could be anything, okay? If we were to change this around and use our 5W, yeah? First off, we could improve it by perhaps avoiding this here, the unhappy thing. Keep it positive. Next thing, who? Could the customer, could you, may you, please, if possible, could you, who, what do we need? Provide, or give me the order number, provide me, supply me with the order number, where, over, or you can say, you could probably leave where out here. You don't always need to specify where. Could you provide me the order number? Who, what, why, when, who, what, where, why, when. Is that right? See, I'm getting confused now. The why. Why do we need it? Okay. So, could you provide me with the order number so I can check the details, or so I can get you the information? Yeah? When? Okay. Now, the semantic of English is if you don't specify a time, normally it infers that it's going to happen now. Okay. So you can leave out time on this occasion. Please could you provide me the order number so I could get you the information needed, and so I can get you the information. You could say so I can get the information. By saying so we can get you the information is loading the question. Okay, it's saying we're going to get you the information. The person, the customers we were saying yesterday, wants information. Okay. By getting information, they get more social value. By us providing them the information, we get more social value. So by framing this sentence to say, so we can get you the information, we're automatically getting value, and we're encouraging the customer to participate because they want value, and we're going to give it to them. So we've used our 5 W's. In this bit to say what we're going to do. Okay. Wait a moment, please. It's a bit grey. There's no real attachment there. I think it could be improved by reaffirming what we're going to do. I'm getting the information now. Okay, you can leave it there. I'm just going to get you the information. If you use I'm just going to get you the information, the going creates a feeling that they're travelling somewhere, okay? They're moving. In the customer's mind, you think, oh, they're moving away from it. They automatically know that you're not going to be right next to them anymore, okay? I'm going to get you the information. They think this person's getting up, he's walking over to the filing cabinet, he's opening the filing cabinet, he's looking through the files, he's getting the information, he's coming back. the customer knows you're going somewhere. Okay, they know that they can't speak to you straight away. CSR, okay. Okay, the customer says wait a moment please. Alright, I got that right. CSR says okay. So, I've got that a bit alternative. The customer goes away here, apologies, to get the information. The CSR says okay. He says okay to the customer because the customer needs to go away and get the information. Okay, what do we use okay for? Have I lost you? You see what's happened then? I made a mistake. Did you pick up on it? No? You didn't? Ah, okay. I feel guilty now. I should explain. I misinterpreted this to being the CSR going away to get the information. That's not the case. What's happened here, you see, that's me passive reading, okay, not active reading. The customer here is going away to get the information. The CSR says. CSR says, okay, to the customer, don't worry, you're going away to get the information that I've asked you for, I'll be here. That's what he's implying, or she is implying, when they say okay. That's what they mean. Oh, it's okay, no worries, grab a seat. That's what the CSR means, but it's not what okay means, is it? Okay, we use okay all the time. We use okay to say to the customer, stop there, okay, don't we? So this is a bit weird. Please wait a moment. Can you go get the information for me? Yeah, please wait a moment whilst I go and get it. Stop there. Doesn't make any sense. Okay. Doesn't make sense. You could use alternatives. I use sure. Sure. Okay. That's an affirmation. It's yes, yes. Essentially, but a softer way of saying, or sure thing, you can say. What we don't like to say is not a problem. Why would we not like to say not a problem?
Because it's ambiguous. Maybe the customers think it's very, you can do it well.
The difficulty with saying not a problem is the word problem. Problem is a negative word. Okay, so even though we're using it in a positive way to say it's not a problem, we're introducing the word problem. Okay, now it may or may not throw a negative frame. Okay, it may or may not generate a feeling of a negative feeling in the customer, but we don't know. The safest thing to do is avoid the word problem altogether. Okay, don't say it's not a problem. Say sure thing or I can do that. I can do that. Customer comes back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, I have a question. Okay, I want to say I'm waiting now. Do you think it's okay?
I'm waiting now. No, it's too immediate. I'm waiting now.
I'm waiting.
Bearing in mind this is written, so there's no tone, there's no body language. I'm waiting now could mean hurry up. I'm waiting now. Okay. I'm waiting now. Now is the word. There's the problem there. Because now is about the immediate, right here. Okay? Which means you've gone from something else to waiting. Okay? Yeah. So you've moved me from doing something else to waiting. I'm waiting now. Okay? As opposed to I'm waiting now. I don't know how you can say I'm waiting now and it be positive. Sorry, that's not I'm just trying to work out how it's a positive way. It's like if I say I know, okay. We all know this in language, but I'll just repeat it. I can say I know. I know. I know. Yeah, these all mean different things. I know. Or I know. You know what I mean? That's like somebody saying to me, look, it's like this. You're making out that I'm an imbecile. I know. But, or I can say, I know. That's empathy there all of a sudden, but I know. Okay? That's a lot different, do you know what I mean? That's I know. Okay. I'm waiting now is the same. It's dangerous because we don't know how it's going to be interpreted. You're better off being a bit more factual. Sure. Sure thing. Yeah. I can do that. Let's keep it this way. You have to think about when people read stuff, when you read a book, you sort of have a voice in your head which suggests the tone that it's going to use.